Hello everyone. Let us talk about India's dilemma in Russia-Ukraine war because this is not Russia-Ukraine war for India. It is Russia versus the West for India. So yesterday, Russia declared two of the parts of Ukraine as independent countries that are Losang and Donetsk, and it has also marched its troops into the borders of Ukraine and taken and acquired the land, which are Losang and Dostek, the easternmost parts of Ukraine, and there Russia also supported the separatist groups, and it has finally acquired the area, and it has also demanded, and it has also said to the countries to accept these two countries as independent countries. But no other, but no, not much countries are very much interested in this thing of accepting Losang and Dostek as independent countries, except Syria, because Syria is very pro-Russia. So that was expected from Syria, and they have accepted Losang and Dostek. But talking about other countries, even China has shown some reluctance to accept these countries. Well, China is a good friend of Russia, and it has been also involved in conflicts with the West. But still, China is also keeping itself away from this conflicts of accepting these countries, because it is very much clear to the world that this is an unnecessary aggression shown by Russia to increase its territorial powers and increase its territory overall. But the thing is that India is in a dilemma now. India has been in the dilemma of Russia or USSR versus the West. Even in the times of Cold Wars, India was not clear that which part it has to choose, because today, and also in the Cold War era, the world was multipolar. Today also the world is multipolar. There are two or three great powers in the world, like USA, China, and Russia. So India is not much clear about whom to choose, the West or the Russia. Talking about the Cold War era, then India was quite clear that India has to maintain a non-inclination policy and non-alignment policy, and it was very successful also. India reaped benefit from both the sides. USSR supported India in the Bangladesh Liberation War, but this time things are quite different, because this time the relations between India and Russia are not of that kind that though used to be in the Cold War era. Also, the trade between the two countries are not that large. Russia is a much weaker power as compared to the past when USSR was there, and also India's ties with the Western countries, with the European Union and USA, has strengthened up many folds. So today it is not easy for India to take decision, and so let us talk about whom should India choose and why should India choose. The two contenders, of course, are Russia and the West. Talking about Russia, then India fulfills its defense equipment needs up to by 85% from Russia only. So India is very much dependent on Russia about the defense equipments. Also, talking about Russia's side, then in terms of defense equipment, India is Russia's largest trading partner also. So both the countries are important for each other for defense trade. Also, also not only defense deals, but today both the countries are also uh, indulging themselves in partnerships of research of design, like we did in BrahMos, and we are exporting BrahMos to countries like Philippines. So both the countries are extensively participating in research and the space field also. ISRO and the Roscosmos of Russia are actively participating in different missions, and there are a lot of participation from both the countries. Also, Russia is important on the global stages, because whenever there are issues about Kashmir's human right violations, which are not true, of course, then Russia supports India. Russia supports India in the UN Security Council. Also, Russia is important for India because India demands a permanent seat in the United Nations Security Council, and Russia many times supports that. and because Russia is one of the only five members of one of the only five permanent members, so it is clearly seen that Russia is important for India. Another things are that on the global stages of BRICS and Shanghai Cooperation Organization, where China is very much dominant, Russia still supports India in many of the um, things, and hence Russia is very important. Also, there has been many deals between the two countries, like the S-400 deal, like the manufacturing of AK-203 in India, and both of the countries came together without fearing from the CAATSA sanctions from USA, and that clearly shows that both the countries are very keen to develop more and more relations with each other. One thing that we as countries are lacking is trade, because only 8 billion US dollars is the trade between the two countries, which is very less as we compare to China, which is about $100 billion, and as we compare to USA and India, which is about 60 to 70 billion US dollars. So we are lacking in trade, but in defense cooperation and research in on world stages, Russia is very important for India and vice versa also. Now let us talk about the West, because it is not like 2 to 3 decades ago when there was Cold War era and India was following non-alignment policy. It is not like that. Today, India is actively participating in the on the world stages, and India is comprehensively supporting the ideas of democracy and sovereign integrity of countries, and hence it has actively participated, and it is a comprehensive strategic partner of the USA. Also, talking about the European Union, then India is one of the largest trading partner of the European Union, and talking about the cultural and human to human relations, then the West and India are very much doing well, because a lot of um, people in the higher managements of companies in the USA are Indian, and many Indians go and study there. So there is a soft power that India also enjoys, and the West is very much important for India, and so is India important for West, because India is the only nation in South Asia who stands strong and who has the capability to counter China, and as the West is very much frustrated about the aggressions of China, so is India. So both West and India are natural allies, and they are also managing things in the Indo-Pacific by forming groups like Quad. Two quads have been made by the USA, and India has been a participant in that also. So both the parties, that is the West and India, are very much natural allies, and also a proof to that is that when India purchased S-400 air defense system from Russia, and India signed the deal of AK-203, then US was not able to impose sanctions of India under its CAATSA Act, and that is due to the importance of India for USA, and hence we can see that it is important for India to maintain relations from both sides. So way ahead is that as India has suggested in many of its sayings on the world forums, that India supports peace, and war is not an option. India supports open dialogue between the leaders of the countries, and the diplomatic solutions for the disputes, and that is how India sees the problem, and the Russia-Ukraine crisis is also not good for India in terms of the trade, because in terms of the sunflower oil and many commodities, we import heavily from Ukraine, and if such disputes happen in Ukraine, if the aggression is much more, if the conflict in the region increases, then it will be very difficult for India to manage the commodity imports, and the prices and the supply chain will get disrupted as well. Also, Russia is a large exporter of oil, crude oil. It contributes about 18% of the world crude oil production, and hence it is also important for India that the stability in that region remains peaceful, and hence India is also today also balancing the two sides. India is not inclining towards the west or the Russia. It is balancing, and this is also the best policy for India to balance the sides, because there are interests on both the sides. So that was about India's dilemma about West and Russia in the era of Russia-Ukraine war, or Russian aggression towards Ukraine, for other in other words. Yes, so that was about it. Thank you very much.